Recently, Hatsumi Sensei said, he's just waiting to die. So I was shocked when I heard that. And I thought, well, let me call my friend Sean, see what he thinks. And I said, Sean, Hatsumi Sensei says he's just waiting to die.
What? What do you mean?
Let's jump into it. Now, this story comes to me from my friend Michael out of Germany. And many people don't know Michael, so I'm just put up a picture of him right there. There he is. Michael is a very interesting fellow. And he just wrote this book, by the way, that I just put up, and it's a wonderful book. Now, I can't read German, but I'm telling you the quality of this book, the pictures in it, I think it's worth the price just for the pictures alone. I mean, it's a high-quality book. I'm sure it's got wonderful stuff written in it because Michael's a great guy. And he did say he sent me the translation from Google Translate for the first chapter, and so I will be reading that soon. But I'm sure, just from looking over some of the pictures he has in this book, that he's got a mixture of like stuff dealing with taijutsu and also stuff dealing with, more of the gokui or inner teachings of our art. So I think this is a great book. If anyone's out there, especially you German speakers, you might want to pick this up. It's really great. Also, Sean, you may not know this about Michael, but he came over earlier this year. He really wanted to see Sensei this last time. And this is literally maybe the last time he can see Sensei. Because Michael has a condition where his eyesight is slowly fading. It went from wide vision to very tunnel vision. And now, when he was at the Hombu in my class and we were training together, I said, well, how much can you see, Michael? He says, well, I can see your nose. And I mean, I was amazed because he's doing some amazing taijutsu, some really, really good stuff. And you can tell he's been with Sensei a long time because it was like watching him reminded me of training with Sensei. Training with him reminded me of training with Sensei. Honestly. So I think if you ever have a chance to train with Michael, please do. So Michael came over this year because he is concerned that his vision may go completely out this year. And not only will he not be able to see, literally, Sensei anymore, but he may not be able to travel as freely as he has. And I really hope that I can meet him again over here sometime. And if that's not possible, maybe I can get to Japan, I can get to Germany and meet him over there.
How'd this story come about? It came from Michael?
Yeah, well, anytime a long-term practitioner comes to Japan, Sensei would like to see them. They're sort of like his, you love your students, right? They're like your family. They're like your sons, your daughters, your uncles, they're like family. He wants to see them. So Michael came over and he was able to grab a lunch date with Sensei. So I said to him, all right, Michael, what did he say? Because I'm very interested in the conversations that people have with Sensei because Sensei always drops, invariably he drops some sort of gem that I can just be like, wow. I wasn't even thinking about that. And it turns out, Michael tells me, he said, well, it was a pretty normal lunch. We ate lunch. And then at the end, he says, he's just waiting to die. And I was, like I am now. I was like, what? I was like, oh my God, this is awful. This is terrible. I mean, my heart started cramping, I was like, oh. He's miserable. He doesn't want to be alive anymore. Maybe he's in pain. Maybe he's disappointed with all those stupid students that were left and no one's getting it. I don't know, but your mind is like racing. Oh, this is horrible news. And then Michael looks at me and he says, but then he said, I'm happy to be waiting. Again, I was speechless. How do you go from those two extreme emotions in like that, right? It was, for me, amazing. That's why I always loved Sensei. That's why I love to train with Sensei. I love to be around him because he always brought these very deep conversations or deep ideas in a very simple way. And it reminded me of sort of like Zen. There's so many stories in Zen where your Zen master does something crazy and all of a sudden you're just like, and you become like enlightened, right? When a pebble hits the stairs and you're like, that's what he meant, or there's many stories, right, about these Zen sensei is like, the one where the guy gets his finger cut off because he's always lifting up his finger and you know the one I'm talking about? There's a student. You don't know this one? Oh, I'll just tell it briefly here. There was a Zen master. I can't remember his name, and he'd always hold up his finger like this when he was talking about certain things, right? And that was his gesture, right? So one of his students starts mimicking him, starts holding up his finger, right, all the time. And so the Zen master hears about this guy holding up his finger all the time, right? He's like, he's mimicking me. He doesn't get it, but he's just, mimicking me. So he calls the student in and he asks him a question. And the student's answering. The student lifts up his finger like that. And the Zen master grabs it and cuts it up. And the student's like, he's like, oh my God, he's screaming and, oh my God, my finger, and he's in the Zen master like kicks him out, right? And he's leaving the room. And then the Zen master says, hey, he turns around and the Zen master goes, and at that moment, he's like, oh my God, I got it, So Sensei has this way where he can just really bring you out of your mind, drive you out of your mind, really, which is a good thing, right? Because this can get in the way of a lot of stuff. And I thought to myself, wow, he's happy to be waiting. What a profound statement that is. I mean, how many of us out there can say, I'm happy right now? Right? We're always saying, well, I'll be happy if this happens, right? I'll be happy once I get my dissertation written, right? Or I'll be happy when, I don't know, my job changes, or I'll be happy when people come back to Japan. We're always putting conditions on our happiness. There's always, well, it'll happen. I'll be happy when this happens. You can't put conditions on happiness. It just doesn't work that way. Because once that condition is met, then invariably another condition pops up. And so you start moving the goalposts. It's like when you chase the horizon when you're a young kid. Did you ever do that? I mean, I did. We lived near the beach, right? And we had fields back then. And we would just be saying, let's run towards the, let's go find that, let's go run towards that cloud or that rainbow. Have you ever done that? And you're just not getting closer you're like, it's just not getting any closer. I've been running for like 10 minutes because you're kids, right? I've been running for 10 minutes. It's just not getting any closer. We didn't realize you can't reach the horizon, right? It just keeps moving. And that's what these conditions are. They're like chasing the horizon. You will never be happy if you place these conditions on your happiness. You just keep moving that goalpost, and it's like you run all the way around the earth and you come back. Same spot, and you're still not happy. But Sensei says he's happy to be waiting. There's only one time to be happy. That's right now. I think Kung Fu Panda said it best, right? The past is gone. How did Kung Fu Panda say that?
You are too concerned with what was and what will be. There's a saying, yesterday is history, tomorrow is a mystery, but today is a gift. That is what it is called the present.
This reminds me of another story. You have time for just a small story? All right. I was studying ink painting with he must have been 93-year-old ink painting teacher at that time. I can't really call him a teacher. He was a crazy man. He would just say, draw this bamboo. And I'd be like, what bamboo? And he'd rip a leaf off and say, draw the essence of this bamboo. But anyways, it was out of a movie, seriously. And so we come across this saying. There's a picture of a big fish, and it says, Taiki Bansei. And I'd never heard it. I'm like, what is Taiki Bansei? And it turns out that Taiki means big utsuwa. And utsuwa in Japanese means like a person of big capacity. Somebody who is very magnanimous, someone who is like an ocean, right? He's very hard to get angry. He allows things to happen and be with those and move with them, right? Is a big person. Taiki, right? A big Utsuwa. And then Bansei means kind of developing in the later years. So I looked at that, right? And I was really, really struck by it because I was young. I knew I was still really stupid, you know? And I'm thinking, oh man, this is great because I have a few more years to develop. I have a few more years to get over, you know, my disease of spreading misery in the world, right? You know, of maybe not being the best person. So I'm like, oh, this is great. I still have time. I painted the picture and I brought it to Sensei. I said, Sensei, look at this. This is wonderful. This big picture of a fish. And it says, Taiki Bansei, there's still time for me. Look at this. So, you know, everyone develops in these big people in their later years, you know, it takes time. And he looked at me and he says, what are you talking about? Again, I was like, what? What? What did I do wrong? And he's like, there are no bannen, right? Bannen and bansei are kind of the same thing, like your later years, right? He said, there are no bannen. He says, that's ridiculous. So that give rid of that painting, give rid of that saying. He's like, this right now, these are your bannen. Don't think you have any more time. He said, this is it. These are your bannen. Whatever you're doing, do it now. Because there is no more. There's no more bannen. Don't ever think that you have bannen. Get busy now. And if that wasn't enough, I was like, what? What? I was like, I really had no idea what to say or how to respond because, you know, it's like a Zen master dropping another, you know, koan on you, knocking you out of your head. And he said, well, you know, that's why in Zen, he brings up Zen. He goes, that's why in Zen they say nakaima. And he walks away.
Nakaima, what is that?
Well, I'm not going to tell you. Since he didn't tell me, I had to go look it up. I may give you a few hints. I'll write the characters for you. So now it's your turn to go dig in the garden, uncover what these things mean, right? Nakaima is a great expression. I love it. I often reference it even nowadays, nakaima. And really it's about, I can't say, but you should be happy now.
Well, what are you wearing? What are the beads?
These are the kukui nuts from Hawaii. And I'm very happy to be wearing this kukui lei right now because, well, several reasons. One, when I got married, Sensei wore this huge lei of kukui beads. And I was wondering, what's he got on? And he says, well, these are kukui beads and they were worn by royalty and they're like a symbol of, you know, goodness, right? Of good things. And so I was like, wow, that's really nice. And I went and looked them up and that's true. The royalty did wear these, but as well, they also mean light. So I think that was a beautiful message in that. And furthermore, as we know right now, a lot of our friends in Hawaii are having a very difficult time with the fires. People are being, you know, losing their houses and family and just horrible things are happening there. So I'm thinking of them as I'm wearing this and wishing them all the best in Hawaii. It's turning out to be a very busy end of the year for me. Next month, I'll be in Australia. In November, I'll be with Nagato Sensei, accompanying him to Finland for the Finland Taikai. That's going to be really interesting as well. And then I just found out, December, I'll be in America enjoying some training with my friends in Kentucky. So if you're around or near any one of those locations, please join us. We're going to have a great time. So if you like the video, go ahead and hit that like button. It really helps us out a lot. Subscribe to the channel. And if you're so inclined, you can make a donation at the links in the comments below.